probably did a pretty good job of that. I only saw the golf course once before playing, so my preparation might have taken a hit that it typically would have, but I actually played pretty good the first couple of days. Each round I really didn't finish great. I was a couple over in the last 3 holes both days, which inevitably cost me making the cut, but it's a really tough golf course. It was a long golf course. I think I counted the second day I had about 9 shots or approach shots over 200 yards for me, so it was a pretty big golf course for me. So like I said, I felt like my game was actually pretty good. It just wasn't quite scoring as much, so could equate that to maybe some loss of energy or just being a really tough golf course. So I'm sure it was a combination of both.
Nick, after you win on Canadian soil, so much to take in. Did you get back to your phone and have 10,000 messages? Like, did you actually check your phone and it was something ridiculous?
It wasn't in the thousands. It was hundreds of text messages. It took me, I probably didn't finish until replying to most people, at least just with text messaging till yesterday. So I kind of put my phone away. It was overwhelming to look at because I wanted to get back to as many people as I could. I haven't even touched the social media aspect, so that'll be another undertaking. But no, it's all great. It's I feel very supported all the time, but especially after that, it's amazing how many people were glued to the TV and watching. So it's very cool to read all the messages.
Chatted with Nick Taylor, who, of course, won the Canadian Open at Oakdale just over a week ago. And that putt, you mentioned people yelling in the crowd, 72 feet, 72 feet. Just remarkable putt. If you were to go back there, if we were to place you in the exact same spot right now and give you 20 balls, how many do you think you'd hit?
Oh, 0.
0. So once in a lifetime putt.
I think you give a tour player 100 balls. I don't know if one goes in.
Yeah, well, I think the make percentage is obviously less than 1%. So there you go, right there. If you make 1 out of 100, you're doing pretty good. So
wow.
Yeah, it was. You could call it 1 in a million. It was for that moment. Very, very unique kind of moment. Walk off in that type of fashion is something you kind of dream of. So I've seen the clip plenty of times. I almost lose my perception of hitting the putt. Now I just see me and Dave jumping around with extreme. So I still get a kick out of the image in my brain is Dave Markle running at me going in. So obviously a very memorable moment for us.
Well, and then on top of it, Hadwin just getting buried. Take us through your peripheral vision there when you're celebrating with your caddy and your buddy Adam Hadwin is coming out to celebrate with you, and he just gets destroyed.
Just decked. The memes on him have been tremendous. I saw a segment on NFL Network. I've seen it all. It's funny. My favorite clip, honestly, was someone put Titanic music to him getting hit. I feel like Duffy had something to do with that, but that was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it was like kind of obviously so much was going on, and then see the corner of your eye, someone get tackled. That's the first sight I don't think we actually realized is Hadwin. And I remember the clip, Dave, you could see him kind of chanting like, "Hey, get out of there!" But then he actually didn't even help Adam up, which is a bit of a tough scene. And went to go grab the flag because that's probably his most cherished thing in his life now. But yeah, a lot was going on. Pretty. To look back, I'm glad he's fine because that was quite the hit.
Yeah, that really was, and it was a wild Sunday in general. We're chatting with Nick Taylor. You get up and down for birdie on 18 to get into the clubhouse, and yet you're watching Fleetwood on 18, a hole that a lot of guys have been really beaten up all week, and he finds a way to par it, so it pushes to a playoff, and then he had multiple chances to close it. At any point, I guess, considering what I just said about him on 18, which was his 72nd hole, the multiple putts he had to close during the playoff, were you closing the book at any point? Were you thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to make this 72-footer?
Yeah, a lot goes through your mind. When I'd finished, I think when I got into scoring, Tommy was realistically the only person that was potentially going to catch me in the clubhouse at 17, and then he had just birdied 16, so that was kind of like, okay, I was almost hoping for a playoff. And then when he birdied 17, I was like, well, 18 is obviously very fun. And so we were kind of sitting watching, and once he hit it in the rough off the tee, that obviously gave me a little bit of life. And then when he laid up into the rough, honestly, from where he laid it up into, it was almost a greater chance of making bogey from there than birdie. So that's when I went out and tried to stay loose, hit a few balls. And he made a great 2-putt for par there. And, even the first hole, I was sitting pretty on the green. I made ahead about 5 feet, and he was maybe 15-ish. But huge putt by him there. And then to me, make it on top of it was obviously extremely crucial. And then, it sucks in those situations, like on the second or third playoff hole after I'd missed my birdie putts to have it out of my hands. There were longer putts than, I wasn't assuming he was going to make it, but it just sucks having no control over it. Fortunate for me, just slid by, and I felt like, on that fourth playoff hole, the long bomb going in is there's definitely a combination of luck in there, but I was trying to hit that as close. So essentially he knew he had to make his putt to extend the playoff, and that was, my main focus there. But yeah, when it went in, was pretty special. But it was a very, very roller coaster, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh yeah, big time.
The finish in regulation throughout the playoff.
With Nick Taylor. And after you hit that putt and, the scene on 18, everyone immediately starts trying to label that moment in terms of Canadian sports history. And I don't know if you've been doing the same thing as a Canadian yourself, as a sports fan yourself, but when you hear, your putt and what you achieved, finally winning a Canadian Open for the first time in a long time, a Canadian doing so, and you're hearing it in the likes of, other great, iconic Canadian sports moments, how cool was that experience for you?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that people are comparing that to. Honestly, that's probably the hardest part I'm having to come to terms with, in the sense that, the first thing I think people were bringing up when I was getting questions right after in the media center was, I think people look at it in the likes of the Crosby Olympic goal and Joe Carter, and that's not for me to decide. Certainly, for people to think that right away is a huge honor to be in that discussion. Obviously, it's my greatest achievement to date, and it'll actually be extremely hard one to top. So, it's obviously a huge milestone in my career and everything that's happened. But to bring a lot of excitement to the country that I grew up in and love is obviously a huge cherry on top.
Yeah, it was incredible. It really was incredible. Yeah. And, we got to see, obviously, that week at Oakdale, and I got to play with you in the Pro-Am
Hang on a sec. Did someone FaceTime Hayes and you saw him after you won that golf tournament?
Of course I did. We had to talk about the round and how everything went down.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't going to bring that up. That's good. That's amateur. Why would you bring that up, Nick?
Because I thought that you said, like, Duthie FaceTimed you and Nick Taylor was beside Duthie, but you're telling me you guys actually communicated after that.
It was an indirect FaceTime, but it was an understanding that it had to happen. And it was great to see Nick afterwards. And,
it was actually a very private conversation. Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
That's right. Me neither. I'm not getting into it. I'd never get into those details. It was very private, and it was very special. It was awesome. Yeah. It was awesome. Well, congrats, Nick. It was obviously an incredibly cool moment, and sounds like you're still on cloud nine. So continue to enjoy it as you move forward, and we'll catch up down the line. Thank you for this.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate having me on.